Hi, it's Amelie. Today, for just practicing, we're going to work on the Carmen Fantasy by François Borne. So it's a live stream, and if you have any questions, comments, you can leave them in the live chat, and we'll try to answer them as right away. And yeah, so I'm gonna start. Yeah, let's just start. So. Okay, so that's the introduction. There's a piano part just before. That Carmen Fantasy is based on the Carmen opera by Bizet. So might be a good idea to listen to excerpts of the opera and know a little bit about the story of that lady who's a gypsy, I guess, who's very beautiful, and this man falls in love with her. Well, in fact, she does something. She gets arrested, and there's this soldier who's checking the jail, and she seduces him, and she says, just let me out and we'll spend our life together and blah blah blah. And then he does that, even though he has a girlfriend, and he leaves everything for her because he loses his job too because he let her escape and stuff. And so I might be making mistakes. I'm not a opera expert, but that's what I know about the story. And then so he leaves, and he goes with her. But then eventually she meets another man, the toreador, and this person, she falls in love with the toreador, and she leaves Don Jose, the soldier. And so the soldier is very angry, and he goes and meets her at the arena where there's the toreador torero. And so they end up fighting. He's like, you have to come back with me. And she's like, never. And she's like, I'd rather die. And then he takes a knife and he kills her. And that's how the opera ends. So that's it for Carmen. It's a very beautiful opera. It's played a lot everywhere around the world. It was not popular when Bizet was alive, very sadly. First time it was played, people didn't like it. And then he died of a heart attack, I think, a few months later because he was I guess he was, not taking that very well. He didn't have that much success. And then a few months after his death, it was played again, and I think in Vienna or something, and then it became a huge success, and still now it's a huge success, that opera, and there's a lot of beautiful arias in there. Okay, so so you have to think about that first phrase. I think I never played that in concert. I think I read it once or twice before, but I'm gonna go through it. I think you have to think about it as a opera character and be very expressive with it. Even though it's piano and dolce, I think it's dolce in the emotion that you're trying to give, but not necessarily that soft in the sound because you want people to be able to hear. So if you go to the theater, someone who's talking very softly, you hear that it's soft, but you can still hear very far in the room. So you have to think about that when you play that. Okay, I'll do it again. I'll just put my tuner because I didn't tune yet. I'll just check. Okay, I'll play it once with that. Yeah, that's the color that I'm looking for. I'm going to do that again. I'll stop here. So first phrase I think is pretty clear. Do the dynamics, those accents, you know, use air to support those accents. Now we're going in that part where you have a lot of thirds. So practicing your scale in thirds, your scale of E minor arpeggios, that's pretty much what you have here in that section. I noticed in my version that sometimes he writes, let's say, a G sharp on one octave. He doesn't write it on the other octave, but it's clearly still sharp, even though it's on another octave, because it's the same chord. So just be careful with that. And you don't have a lot of places to breathe. I'm gonna put here's my pencil here. Oh, thanks. So I'm gonna breathe here after the first E at allegro, then 2 bars later after the G, then 2 bars later after the E, then after that A 1 bar later. I'm gonna try it like that. So every time I have an 8th note or longer, I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to try not to breathe in other parts. So I'm going to take 2 bars before allegro. That works. So for me it works. If it doesn't work for you, maybe add a couple after the first note of the bar. And yeah, I think the piano is pretty straightforward there. I don't think I have the piano part with me, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, you can practice that starting slowly and then going faster and faster the traditional way, using rhythms, doing little sections, like let's say you do 1 bar. Practicing like that because for me it's easier to go fast for 1 bar and then stopping. It kind of revs my engine up, I guess, and then I can go from slow to fast, and I like mixing it around. I'll go on because it's a long piece. I'll go from there. On that high E, you can lift your pinky, might help if you're afraid of that note. Yeah, okay. So here it's really two lines. You have this. And the other line that goes. So they have to be really separated. The accent is on the bottom note at the beginning, so that's a bit of a challenge. Make sure your low register is not tensed, you know, and that you're not pushing too hard. Because sometimes when we push too hard, we change the angle, and then the air doesn't hit the right spot anymore. So just try not to move too much. Here they don't. They slur it. I prefer to not slur it, so I'm just gonna thumb. I think it's a better result for me. Okay. When it goes up, I prefer not to slur it. When it goes down, I prefer to slur it. It's a personal preference. And also sometimes I say something like that, and then if I practice it for a while, I might change my mind later. But for now, that's what I prefer. And you should try to find what works best for you, what sounds the best for you, and just respect that. You know, maybe I do it a certain way, and because I conceive it this way, it does sound good because I might be, how do you say that, convincing. But maybe if you don't feel it, you might not be convincing. And same thing if I try to play like someone else. So now I'm going to go to the next part. I think that next part here where you have it's pretty dark, you know. It's like a premonition of something bad happening, you know. It's very slow too. I'm going to do it once with the metronome. Okay, so I don't like playing it with a metronome too much, but it's good, you know, just to get the sense of the tempo and everything. Here you have a crescendo, but I was a bit loud already, mezzo forte, so I'm gonna start that crescendo piano. So I'm gonna do like a subito piano there to make sure I have space to go and do a crescendo. Also, I did a note, like I did B flat, A flat, and there was a little sound in between, so and now it's okay. Just being careful, so if I notice it, I go back to it, but then when I'll play it, I'll try to remember to just be careful with that spot. I'll go from that crescendo there, just 2 bars before. Okay. Of course, when you do those high G's, like send the air down because it's going to be a bit sharp and you want to counteract that. But, you know, so that's, you know, it's operatic, so you can be very dramatic with that. Then when you have that thing going down, it's always the same notes: G, E, A sharp, G, E, C sharp, A sharp. It's just that little arpeggio going down. Then you have a choice between going I would say take whatever sounds best for you, you know, don't complicate things. But when I do the lower one, I try to do the harmonic because it's cleaner than going. First, it's more in tune with the harmonic, and also it's better for everything. I prefer it. Yeah, I do it like that. But if not, it's simpler to just do the higher octave. And then you have this fermata there, and then you go back, you just go. So. Practice that again. So, those little spots that are faster, you know how to practice them, changing the rhythm, playing it slow and then fast. Also changing the articulation. I like to do that. So I'll do it again. I'll figure out where to breathe. So I'll take a very big breath before I start. Do it because it's piano. So if I start piano and I don't do the crescendo too fast, I think I can get there with only that breath that's written between, I don't have bar numbers, but between the E and the C sharp in the middle of that bar that goes and then I breathe here. I'll do it again. To breathe. Not easy, huh? I did it without breathing there. So what I did is I did it a bit faster. So that worked. If not, you'll have to figure out another place to breathe. Check the piano part. I don't think I have it with me, but sometimes it's a good thing to check where the piano, what the piano does, because that's how I pick my breathing marks most of the time. I check, and if I see there's less going on with the piano, I breathe there. This way the accompanist the pianist can wait for me. It's easier. But if the piano's doing a lot and I'm doing a lot, it's a bit more difficult to take a breath. It's going to take a bit more work to put together at the end. Okay. I'm going to continue. Is there any question, comments?
Everything's really great.
Cool. Okay. Put that here. So. I think I'll do it with harmonics here. Okay, so yeah, so I guess I would practice that here. This one is a bit more tricky. It's a D sharp A that is a bit problematic, so I'll focus more on that thing. So you can't put your attention on everything at once, you know. Some things will be more natural, some things a bit less. So figure out what's more difficult and put your attention there, because you can't, when it's that fast, you have to let some things become just natural and do it by itself, you know. And then you get focused on the things that are a bit less natural. That's not bad. So that thing can be practiced in different ways. You can, you know, always the same thing, all detached. You know, and also going. And then you can do 2 beats. And I'm not tonguing right now, I'm just working on the fingers. And then a whole bar. And so on and so on. And then slowly again, and then you add the tonguing, you know, different ways. It's always good because it's, you input it, you know, in all those different ways, and it makes it less boring than always doing exactly the same thing. And I think you get results faster. I'll see if I need to breathe here. Again. Okay. So if I breathe enough before that high B, that B, I'm fine until that long E. And then I breathe there. And then I can breathe where there's a 8th note, the C. But then I'll need something, I think. Yeah, then I do the F. I breathe there. But then I needed more air. Okay, so what I did is I took little breaths in between. I like doing that sometimes. Did I do the right amount? So that's good for that part. You know, obviously I would have to work on it. I heard that here in that there were little things, so I would just practice it, you know. And then like practicing slowly. I'm not doing it that much here because you get it. You can practice slowly, and it's a very long piece. So I'm gonna continue. No question? Cool. So I'll go from même mouvement. Okay, so here there's a little thing written. I forgot to read it. So where you have that thing that again. They write, pour ce passage, on doit prendre les doigtés les plus faciles afin de donner plus de brio à l'exécution. That means, for that part, you need to take the easiest fingerings to make it sound brilliant, make it sound flashy. Don't try to do the real fingerings, F, E, D sharp, E. Just do harmonic fingering. So you do a B flat, A, G sharp, and you go back to A. So you go B flat, A, G sharp, A, B flat, A, G sharp, A, and you do that 7 times, and then after that you can go back to the normal fingerings. Okay, so I'll go to même mouvement tranquillement. Tranquillement means just tranquil, like relaxed. Go a bit slower at the end. Smorzando, I think they mean like it's kind of dying there, I'll go from the 2/4. My God, I can't do that. So what I did is I just moved my pinky on the E. I went. So for that A, E, it's a bit difficult because E is a harmonic of the A, and so, but if you remove the pinky there, you can't really miss it. Makes it easier. I think that was okay. Of course, here it's a bit. It's always a bit difficult, I guess, to play high notes piano. We have videos about that, but it's. I try not to feel that the air is too much in the front of my mouth. It's more like I let things resonate more in the back. You have to really work on it and try to feel what it feels like to get it. So you try it and you try to be aware of the feeling. And yeah, so I'm sure we'll have questions about high notes in the piano like that. Okay, so now the habanera. It's a very well-known part. Did it? No, it's okay. you start in minor and then you go in major. I don't think there's going to be big issues there. Try to do the dynamics as much as you can. Also, bien lié, you see bien lié, it means well slurred, You really want that type of almost, you can hear a glissando. You don't do it, but you kind of hear it in your head as if you were doing. But sometimes when I do those types of things, I visualize straw and you go in your throat. Okay, so that's it for this part. Let's continue. So the other part is a bit more technical. It's a very long piece. I wouldn't advise someone to try to sight read the whole thing at once. It depends on your level, but it's a lot of notes to get in. And so I'm doing it now for the sake of a live stream, and I've read that piece before in my life. But if you're just learning it, when we get tired, we tend to learn mistakes. So I would say be very careful about that. If you feel you're tired, just leave it there, do something, come back. Yeah. Okay, so here you have a variation on that. And you can really see the composer puts accents on the notes that are the melody. And the accompaniment is. Okay, so it's again. Sorry. So here you're at. Practicing with the metronome slowly and then faster, all those things, same things that I usually say, and rhythms. So I'll just practice this a little bit. when I do it slowly like that, I have a bit more energy to do the dynamics, so it's a good thing. I'll do it again, a bit faster. Okay, so I think I'm gonna breathe. So in the beginning, if I take a good one before I start at the major part. I can breathe here after the C. And then I breathe here. And I breathe after the C again. And after that C as well. Because I won't have time after that, so I take a little reserve there. Okay, so I just played it this time just for the breathing mark, just to put them. The time before was better, but it's okay, because anyways, if I was planning on playing that in concert, I would be practicing that a lot, so everything becomes natural and easy, and I don't even have to think about it, you know. Then the music in front of me is just a reminder. I kind of know it almost by heart, you know, because I've played it so much. That's the level that I want to get at when I play in concert. So here, okay, what's going on here? Lento. So it's again, but it's wait. What would be that lento exactly? Was there a speed before? I'll try at 60 just to see how it sounds. And I think I would circle the notes. Dum bum 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 bum, just so I'm clear on which notes I want to get out. Bum 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 bum. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. Slower for that. So that was clear. So that helps a lot. I just circle the notes that are the melody, and this way when I'm playing it, it's very clear in my head what notes have to come out. So now I'm gonna do the next variation here. Okay. Not too fast. Say, but I say it a lot usually. Try to group things. So try to figure out, is that a scale in arpeggio, a scale in third? Is that a chromatic motive here? This way you don't have to think about each note, but you can see things as a whole. And instead of learning, let's say, 10 elements, that can be one element in your brain. And this way it becomes way lighter for your brain to manage all these notes. You see, so let's say you have this little minor third here that comes twice. So you don't have to think about it as 6 notes, but as one motive twice, And then when you go back down, it's just, you have F to F with an E flat and a B flat, and you just do that, and you can practice it like this. And then you have, it's still the same B flat, G flat that you had before. And then you have another scale with an E flat and a B flat that goes from D to D. You see? And then you have a little bit of chromaticism. And then again, but then you have a scale. You have that a lot. Okay, so try to see these things, and this way it's going to be way easier to learn. Sometimes we don't see it right away in the beginning. It's okay. Just be open to those types of, to seeing the motives, and it's going to come, Okay, let me do it a bit faster. Okay, and you see, I didn't try to worry too much about breathing before I got to a faster tempo, because clearly if I play faster, I'm gonna need a little bit less air, So I'm just gonna breathe where there's a rest, and then where there's a 16th note. So for that part, I'm good for today. I would come back to it later. I'm gonna continue. Any question, comments? No?
Very good.
Cool. Okay, now I'm with the F sharp. Be careful with the key changes. There's a lot of them. So you can pick the one you want there.
Is that double tonguing or triple?
Double. here. Yeah. Tahataka, tahataka, ta. Tahataka, tahataka. Yeah, that piece is pretty cool because it's well written for the flute, so it sounds very difficult, but it's not as difficult as it sounds. You know, sometimes you have pieces that don't sound that difficult but are a big challenge. Like, I'm not saying that's not a challenge. That's a challenge, but I mean, it's well written, so it's a challenge that you know, it's a good piece to play because it gets in the fingers pretty well, you know, with the keys that are there. And yeah, okay, so it's a you know, so you have to make that sound. This one is a bit more tricky because I have the tendency to go. Okay, I would need more air here. Let's see. I'll check that. Take one here after that E. Yeah, and here. Good. So I go. This way I can finish with a little bit more air. You don't want to finish and you don't have air to finish that. You know, you played it so beautifully and you know. Yeah. I would have to work a little bit more on the dynamics there, but you know, it's good to keep some things to work on for the next practice session, and you can even write it down. You know, you write, okay, page 5, this section, practice dynamics, and this way next time you know where you're at. I love doing that, writing down where I am in my practice, because when I'm done, it's so clear what I need to do, but then the next day sometimes I just forgot. Okay. Oh, that's a nice part, the next one. Bum, 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 bum. So it says that speed. Okay, I don't need to breathe. No. Okay. Okay, so when I have these long notes, dotted quarters, I'm gonna breathe every time, so I can take some air. You know, I take a reserve, as I said before. Sometimes I take a little reserve like that. I'm gonna try again. Okay, I have to work on that. Huh? Is there something?
No, you're all good.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna work on that a little bit. Okay, so here too, in my edition, sometimes he writes a G sharp in one octave and expects us to remember in the other octaves. It's not, the editor didn't write it on each octave, but you know it's still the G sharp, or it would sound very weird because it's the same scale and it comes back in the next bar. So. Here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the real F sharp, but then the G sharp I'm gonna do C sharp fingering, but I'm gonna play the harmonic, and then I'm gonna go back to the real E fingering because it's way easier for me to do it like that. And it's so fast, that G, that it's better than if I go and you hear little notes in between. I'm not sure anymore. You see, that's the type of decision I would take. Maybe I would practice it and then see if in context I make a mistake, and then try both ways and see what's more, how do you say, constant, because you want to be consistent. So I would say like which one sounds best in the context, and then choose if I'm going to do the real fingering or an alternate fingering there. It's about the result, So, like, of course, that I would have to work on it. There's a lot of notes. Okay, so that I would have to practice it. Same way I did before. It's a lot of arpeggios that come back and are the same, E major in the beginning. And then E flat major. And then C sharp major. And then this. It's B, D sharp, F sharp, A. It's like a B7th chord, and it's just inversions, It's always the same thing. And then you have your E major scale. And then you have the 7th of the C sharp major, the B sharp. Their motives going back and up, and it's always the same notes. And then here, and then you go back one note and you go back down. And then E major, arpeggio. So if you can see things a bit more like that, you don't have to really analyze things, but just at least know, oh, it's the same notes that whole time. It's gonna be less work for you. So let's continue. Oops. that little thing. I like to do that. If there's a little thing that's a bit tricky for me, I do it in a loop, you know. 1 minute, even just 30 seconds, you can do it many times, and then it becomes second nature pretty fast. I'm going to do that again. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I have an itch. Okay, let's continue. Okay, I'm going to practice that little thing again. Sometimes I crack high notes here. It's because I'm getting tired and I'm not supporting that well. So I'm going to try to just focus on that. Be careful with that. And then you change the key. Okay. So yeah, that I would practice. I would practice it in many different ways, probably with rhythms. And then it's like you take some notes as a stopping point, so you can take your energy back to go fast on the next note, and then you stop on that. So you make groups. You stop on one, you play 3 fast. You stop on one, you know, stuff like that. And then you can play fast, and then you stop. So that, and then I would practice it very slowly, all tongued. And so on and so on. Okay, I'm gonna go. So here you have. Okay, so that ta da ta 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 ta. I count them in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because it's and you have to do a retardando at the end. And when I do the tata, I do kata, kata, kata. For me, it's a bit easier to do it fast and that it stays clean. But right now I'm doing ta-da-da, kata. It's not very equal. So, you know, I would practice it slowly like that. You know, and then faster. And subdividing is a good way to take care of those types of issues when it's not equal anymore. Okay, so I'll go to the next part. Any question or comment?
No, until the end.
Okay. I'm gonna try to read it once. Take my time. student who's learning that, and depends on the level, but I would probably not say learn all of that in 1 week. Maybe I would say 2 pages or 1 page for next week, and then we would work on that, and then move on like that, little by little. On that high G sharp, if you want to lower it, you can add those 2 fingers here. So instead of doing G sharp like that, you just add those 2 here. Okay, so obviously that whole part needs to be played super fast. I'm not going to play it that fast today. I would have to, go slowly and increase the tempo. And also, obviously, if I'm learning that for a concert, I wouldn't always start from the beginning. I would sometimes start from the last page, last section, and then move back up. Because if I always start from the beginning, I'm always going to be tired when I get to the end. And then my ending might be a bit weak compared to the rest of the piece. And you don't want to have a weak ending, because that's when people want to applaud you and you want them to feel like applauding you. So please work on your endings a lot, especially when they're that fast and virtuoso, let's say. Can't pronounce it. So I would have to practice that. It's not even the right tempo yet. I'm not gonna try that today. Also, for breathing, I would be careful to take more every time I can, because then at the end you can't anymore. But also, I wouldn't be too stressed right now because I'm not playing it at the real tempo. So when I'm gonna be at the real tempo, I might need less air because, I'm going faster. So
cool. Cartman wants to know, when starting to learn, what to focus on most in the beginning, breathing, intonation, or learning all the fingerings. I feel a bit insecure about that at the moment. Maybe you want to...
Okay, so Carmen? Cartman. I'm playing Carmen. Cartman is asking, when you start learning, should you focus more on breathing, learning the fingerings? What else? Intonation. Okay.
Yeah, which one should you focus on the most?
I wouldn't focus on intonation right now in the beginning. I think you should learn your fingerings so that you can start playing pieces and studies. That's pretty cool. And then very quickly you'll want to work on your breathing because you'll want to play those phrases a bit longer. But like if you don't know any fingering, then you can't really start. And then yeah, posture is a good thing to work on all the time, because first it's linked to breathing. If you don't have a good posture, your breathing will be a bit more difficult, because the body is not as efficient, when it's not in the right alignment. And so make sure you have a good posture, learn your fingerings, and at the same time, you can start working on breathing. But if it's too difficult to learn everything at once, maybe just compartmentalize things. So let's say you're learning a scale in order to learn a fingering. You're learning F sharp, and so you're practicing the G major scale to, practice doing that new fingering of F sharp. So that moment where you practice the scale, you're really focusing on learning that fingering. But maybe you do that for 5 minutes, and the next 5 minutes you can play long phrase and try to take better breaths, or you can even do a breathing exercise. We have a video about breathing in which there are different breathing exercises. So it's normal in the beginning that things are difficult to integrate together, and it's okay. You don't have to integrate all of them at once. They're going to integrate by themselves, but maybe work on them separately. So 5 minutes of this, 5 minutes of that, and then eventually you'll see that you're capable of integrating those things together.
Cool. Are there any tips for beginners?
Any tips for beginners? Pretty much what I just said. Do things separately, because in the beginning it's difficult to think about everything at once. And once things start to be more automatic, you don't have to think about them anymore, then they're easier and easier to integrate together, because you can't think about everything at once. So also the way to practice is to try to make things become natural. So you don't want to try to be over controlling of things. You want to teach your body how to do it so that you can trust your body afterwards. That's kind of the way I want to learn something, like especially a musical instrument. It's so it's really physical, it's your body doing it. So you have to teach the body the right way, and then trust your body, If you're trying to be too in control, that might be like there's this fine line between controlling and letting it happen, and just being aware and letting it happen. And we're finishing our method, and I think it's going to be pretty cool, because there's video and PDF together, so it's going to be clearer than just a method that's without video, that's just a book. And also it's going to be pretty affordable, and you have pretty much everything in there: theory, rhythm, sound exercises, technique, all. Like, we try to make something that's comprehensive. Everything's in there. You don't have to buy 3-4 books, And so that's going to be available soon. So maybe check that out, when it gets out. It might be helpful for you if you're a beginner.
Yeah, the best way is just to subscribe to the channel, and you'll know.
Yeah, subscribe to the channel and you'll get notifications, and you'll know when it's ready. So that's one of our next thing that we really are pushing on to finish,
Rich Pilot Moore is wondering, I'm contemplating buying a flute. Is it possible to learn beginner stuff from our channel?
Okay, so someone is asking, I want to buy a flute. Can we learn beginner stuff through your channel? Yeah, there's a couple of beginner videos, but we're also working on a book that will be very affordable. So check that out. You might that will be a bit better, I think, because it's really step by step, and you can follow the.
But there's still a lot of videos. Like, you can definitely learn.
Yeah.
A lot of our subscribers have learned just from
a lot
online.
A lot of our subscribers have learned a lot just from our channel right now. It's just that you have to go through everything, whereas in the method, things will be put in an order that's kind of logical to learn. And so, but you can learn a lot and get a fingering chart,
We
and
have one.
it's just that with the method, you'll have everything,
Yes,
the
exactly.
repertoire, everything. You don't have to worry about anything. You just have to learn it.
Mary Oriana wants to know, is it better to use the B flat trill key instead of the first finger on the right hand?
Can you say that again?
Is it better to use the B flat trill key instead of the first finger on the right hand?
Yeah, I personally prefer using. Okay, so is it better to use the B flat here or with the trill key with the right hand. I prefer the trill key. I think it sounds better, and also it reacts a bit faster. But it's not a religion or anything, you know. If sometimes if I do F B flat, obviously it's gonna be better to just keep my finger there. It really depends. And plus, when you have this key down, you can play A, you can play other notes, and they're gonna come out as their own. So sometimes, so you can put it down a bit before, so you don't have the in between sound that you would get otherwise. Yeah. Any other question?
How far? What is this? How far does the tutorial go? I already recommended that, but like it's like 15 lessons or 14 lessons, right?
It's 14 lessons, and
it's a book
at the end of that book that we're finishing, you'll be able to play from the low D to the third octave D. So you'll have like 2 full octaves, all the notes there, you know. And yeah, and then in the next lesson, the next book, we'll learn the other notes. Yeah, and push it, you know. Yeah. There's gonna be 3 levels. We're finishing the first one now, and so you're gonna have like a pretty good level that you can play by nice pieces by the end. And we have always like little pieces that are nice to play, and there's a lot of sight reading in it. And yeah, so I think it's a good thing. Even if you already play, it can be a good thing to just go back and make sure you didn't miss anything, you know. Yeah. So that's it for the questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you're already intermediate, it's not for you, you know.
No, if you're already intermediate, maybe the second book that we'll be working on will be second or third, you know. Exactly. It should be better. But there's a lot of studies in our first book still. So that can be, you know, it depends. There's a lot of studies, a couple of pieces, but maybe you're better waiting for the next one. We'll try to work fast this year.
One last question.
Yeah.
Queen Laura wants to know any tips for band auditions.
Okay, tips for band auditions.
I think we talked about it in the Flute Talk podcast, but
yeah, we had a podcast about auditions lately, I think. Okay, so first thing is there's 2 ways to practice. So when you practice your pieces and you're learning them, if you make a mistake, you want to stop and start and rework on that specific spot. Especially, like, make sure when you make a mistake, you don't start from the note that you missed, because usually what made you miss a note is what is before it, you know. Playing a note in itself is usually not that difficult. It's the transition between notes that is problematic most of the time. So what I try to do is, if I make a mistake, it's in the middle of the line, I'll go back to the beginning of the line, and then I'll try to do it 3 times correctly. So that's a way to learn, so you make sure that you're learning well. And then once you have to practice this way sometimes, and then some other times you have to reserve time as well to practice just playing it and continuing even if you make a mistake. Because when it's a totally different mindset to be practicing and learning and stopping and practicing and playing without stopping. And if you don't practice playing without stopping, you might be a bit more in shock when you have to do it for the first time in front of people. So practice doing that. You can even put your phone and record yourself and say, okay, I'm doing my full audition. I'm not stopping, whatever happens. And first time you might feel, it's not as good as I thought it was, because very often when we stop and start, we have this impression that it's all good. But when we do it without stopping, we realize, I still have a lot of work to do. So, but then if you do it couple of times, you can see even after 3 times of doing that, you'll feel way more comfortable. So that's one thing for preparation. And then once you're there, don't listen to others, because especially behind a door, people sound better than they really are. Plus, you're a bit nervous, and you might have a tendency to idealize the way others are playing and overjudge the way you're playing. So try to silence that voice that's judging. Like, it's no time for judgment, it's time for doing. And there's judges there to judge you already. You don't have to judge yourself. Just just do what you have to do and don't spend any energy on judging what's going on. And if a note has been missed, it's in the past. There's nothing you can do about it. Just continue and think about the next note that you have to do, you know. And so that's the best advice I could give, I think.
Cool.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you're interested in taking lessons with me, I give lessons on Skype or FaceTime. So we have students from many countries. So you can just email us at info@theflutechannel.com and we'll give you all the info about taking lessons with me. And also, you can take one lesson, you can take a bundle, like there's different ways, so that's interesting. And then if you're looking for a flute, you can look at the Flute Center of New York. We have a code with them, it's TFC. That code gives you perks and also helps us out, so thanks for everyone who used our code. You can check in the description below, everything's there, and you can go on their website. It's flutesforsale.com. It's a number 4, flutes4sale.com. Or you call them, and they're all very knowledgeable. They're all flutists there. And also, if you want some merch like my t-shirt or the mugs that we have there, or we have posters with fingerings, scales, and trill fingerings, go on our store. It's all there, down there. The links are there. Am I forgetting anything?
Patreon if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Patreon.
Oh, and yeah, you can be a patron for as little as $2 a month, and you have access to our live podcast, so you can ask questions, and there's different tiers as well, so you can go and check out our Patreon and see if anything is interesting for you there, and it helps us out to produce content that we hope is helpful for you. We're trying to make the content that we would have liked to have when we were learning, you know. That's the whole goal of this channel. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, sure.
So I hope this was helpful. Please like it if you liked it. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and see you next time. Thanks for watching.